Hello, this is Brooks Whittington with halfwheel.com. Today we're taking a look at the Craftsman's Bench double blade cutter, a dual guillotine cutter that is made by Newman and retails for about $4. Now, this may look like a plastic toy. However, don't let the looks deceive you. It's actually become one of the best cutters that I've used this year. We'll get back to that in a second. However, this is actually the third version of this cutter that has existed. About 20 years ago, the company produced the first version, which only cut up to about 54 ring gauge cigars because that was pretty much the largest size that people smoked back then. Then, about a dozen years ago, they redesigned the cutter so that it could cut larger cigars up to 64 ring gauge. This is actually the third version of that cutter, and it has been redesigned, not necessarily in a visual aspect, but just to make it so that it cuts cleanly and more consistently as well. Now, as I said, the retail on this is about $4, and it's a very, very light cigar and has quite a few advantages, which I'll get to. But at first I wanted to cut some cigars. Now, as is the case with most dual guillotine cutters, the Craftsman bench works fairly simply. You basically put your fingers through the holes, open the cutter, put the cap of the cigar through the opening and push through, and the cap is cut and you have yourself a easy to smoke cigar. Now, this specific cutter cuts very, very well and cut just about every single cigar that I used it on very well. There was one time that the cap broke. It was probably my fault. This is very easy to use. You essentially put the cigar through, push through, and you have yourself a nice clean cut. Now, there was very few problems I had with this cutter. It's light, it's easy to use, it's cheap, and the value that you get from the actual cutter itself is basically through the roof. There were some small issues. The blades become fairly loose after a little while. If you're reaching into your pocket or something, it could easily cut you if that were to happen while it was in your pocket. I didn't have any problems with that, but perhaps it is possible. Also, there was an issue with the paint chipping off of the actual cutter itself. Not a big deal for me, but these are very, very minor issues compared to the value that you get from the actual cutter itself. $4 cutter that cuts cleanly every single time, just about. So, can I recommend the Craftsman's Bench double blade cutter? The answer is 100% unequivocally yes. This is one of the best cutters that I have used at any price, and one of the best cutters that I've used this year. It deserves to cost quite a bit more than it does, the $4 that it does, and beats out cutters that cost 10 times as much or more. It's consistently clean with its cuts. It's easy to use. It's light. It's very, very, very good cutter. Something that you could just throw into a bag if you wanted to. Forget about it until you needed it. You could pass them out at a poker game, keep them on the table for when a lot of people come over. Golf bag would be perfect for a golf bag or something of that nature. A very, very good cigar. There's very few cutters that I would see myself using, over and over again. Even depending on the price, even despite the price, whatever that may be, this is one of those that I could easily point to and say, I can use this cigar cutter and be perfectly happy with it whenever I use it. So you should go out and buy one if you like the clean, straight cuts. Give it a try and see what you think. For all of your cigar-related needs, cigar news, cigar reviews, anything really cigar-related, this is Brooks Whittington for halfwheel.com.